Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, we have Josh Owens, co-founder of VenLink, as my guest. We're going to be going through his business, the challenges that he's faced, and giving you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. So, welcome, Josh. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Kay.
Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to share with our audience a bit about yourself. So take us back as far as you want and share a bit about you.
I was born on the West Coast. I'll take it all the way back there. So I'm a West Coast baby. I moved out to Texas my freshman year of high school. My dad was an entrepreneur, so he was a civil engineer. Started his own civil engineering firm in Dallas Fort Worth area, where he actually serviced oil and gas clients. So these were operators that ran oil and gas companies, and he built a lot of the civil infrastructure for those operators. And so, at a young age, I learned to be entrepreneurial. My dad always wanted me to have a job and go to work, and I quickly realized that you can be far more successful working for yourself than, for someone else. And so, um, you know, not all of us have the luxury of doing that, but there was a point in my career where I spent a long time in corporate America, and I wanted that independence and that freedom that entrepreneurship provides. And so, about 2.5 years ago, I made the leap of leaving my corporate job and starting my own software company, and that's called VenLink.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that big step is it is amazing when it's for you. It's so I'm very excited to dive into your learn more about your company. So, okay, so you had a background in corporate America. Were you in software at the time or what were you doing in corporate?
Yeah, so I traditionally worked for oil and gas companies, and so I got introduced to oil and gas business through my dad.
Hmm.
And early in my career, I was a landman. So if you've seen that show, Landman,
I've heard of it, yeah.
I was the guy knocking on doors, negotiating mineral rights and right away. Um, that's you got to do a lot of traveling for that job, and so I ended up having a couple kids and went to more of a back office administrative role. So I have an accounting finance background, and I worked my way up through the accounting finance organization at a few large oil and gas companies. That evolved into working for a general counsel here in Austin for a company that had just gone public, a small oil and gas company. When I say small, it ended up being bought by a bigger oil company for $10 billion, but I managed their corporate risk right after they went public. So my accounting finance background allowed me to understand how money flows through an organization, such as an oil and gas corporation. And I used that skill set to help build out controls after this company went public. Um, that led me into actually the first creation of VenLink. And so at the time, it was a company called Parsley Energy, and it was the fastest growing oil and gas company in the United States. We had, like I said, we just went public, and overnight we went from a $500 million company to a $1 billion company based off the land assets that we held. And it was my job. I came in and was hired to build out a third-party risk management program. And so what that means is I was hired to figure out what the 5,000 contractors we were doing business were, what they were doing, were there proper controls when it comes to vendor onboarding and account management. And so there's a lot of risk involved with that. So just like anybody that owns a business knows that when you start off with a business, you don't have all the resources that you need to really be efficient and effective. And so you take on certain risks. And so that's what this oil company was doing. They were taking on certain risks to grow the operations. And if you've seen the series Landman, actually, there's the opening scene is there's a three-man fatality. So it's a father, a grandson, and uh, I think a grandfather, right? And so all three of them were actually blowing up in a workover rig, and that's actually a true story. That was a story that led me down the path of creating VenLink, which basically monitors third-party risk. And what I mean by that is we monitor contract risk, financial risk, and regulatory risk. And
Hmm.
so there's the proper way to manage third parties. Like even if you were to go hire somebody to mow your lawn, to prevent anything bad from happening to you and your home and your family, you'd want to make sure that that contractor has a proper agreement in place. You'd want to make sure that they have the proper insurance to support the indemnity obligations within their contract. So, if they fall and hurt their leg, their insurance policy will cover it instead of them suing you and your insurance policy covering it. And then the third thing is making sure that they're qualified to do the work, right? If they're an electrician, you want to make sure that they're a licensed electrician. And so that's what VenLink does is we provide those services for oil and gas customers through our software.
Okay, okay. That's awesome. Well, that story is incredible and it really sets like the stage for what you do now and how your previous career inspired your business, which is awesome. So now when did you say you founded the company?
So we founded the company about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I've been doing this full time 2.5 years. We started off as a service company. I did it kind of on the side before that for a couple years, and we were gaining a little bit of traction, and I was like, "Look, I've always wanted to start my own business. I believe in the product. I believe in the idea. At the end of the day, we're trying to make a safer, more friendly work environment. We're trying to connect operators with service providers and make sure that they're basically friendly and good neighbors when they do business. And
Mhm.
so, really." About 2.5 years ago, I can't recall the date exactly, but I ended up, leaving my corporate job and pursuing this. And yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Wow, that's incredible. So, now do you serve Texas or do you serve the country? Like, how far do you reach?
Yeah, so we serve, so there's really like we serve the energy space. And so when I say energy space, there's a lot of different energy companies, but primarily we're looking at oil and gas operators. And so those are companies that pull oil out of the ground.
Hmm.
We have midstream customers, so that's people that transport oil and gas through pipelines, right?
Hmm.
That take it from out of the ground to whatever delivery, refinery, etc., that it gets sent to. And then we also do alternative energy, so that's things like geothermal or solar, right? So we really service the platform was built primarily for the energy space, but really it's applicable to anybody that hires a third party contractor or service provider.
Okay, okay. This is like hitting home for me. I grew up in North Dakota, so I was around the oil and gas scene up there. So are you serving outside of this area or like does your reach go up to? Are you in Canada, anything like that?
We're not in Canada, but we primarily service the United States. So one of the benefits of using our software is being able to monitor regulatory compliance. And so we've got integrations built with third-party data services to monitor those aspects of compliance.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Now, employees. Let's talk about your like the internal structure of your company. How many employees you currently have?
So right now we primarily are operating off of offshore. So we don't really have any internal employees. I think part of running a software business is keeping your margins, your gross margins high, your profit margins high. In order to meet those margins, we have to leverage offshore resources.
Mhm.
So our customer success, customer support team are all based out of India. Our software development team is based out of Brazil. We got hybrid, some out of Brazil, some out of India. We do have some fractional positions that are here in the United States. So we have We leverage a fractional CFO. He lives in Durango. We have a fractional CTO that I met here in Austin that we just hired. And we actually do have two full-time employees joining us in January. So we don't have any current, but we're excited to bring on a full-time customer success director as well as a full-time director of project management.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so that covers employees. Now, internal structure. Now, you're a co-founder. So, what does your kind of like your ownership structure look like?
Yeah, so it's just me and my partner, Mark Brown. So he was actually my previous boss at the company I worked for, the oil company, and so we complemented each other well. When the oil company got acquired, we continued to work together in various capacities, more as a consulting role. And so yeah, it's me and my partner. We are, 50-50 co-founders, and it's primarily us who support operations, run the business, run the day to day.
Oh, that's incredible. Now, any investors involved with the startup, or was it gra or like a bootstrap?
Yeah, so we bootstrapped this, primarily bootstrapped it, but we did get an investment about a year ago, to basically enhance our software and integrate our AI strategy. And so, yeah, we did receive a investment we issued a safe note at an $8 million valuation cap.
Wow, awesome. Well, that's great. So now looking at, I want to touch on the future of your company. Where do you see yourself going here in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so I think we have a lot of traction. This is a unique space in the oil and gas industry. And so we're creating channel partnerships, we're creating integrations, really to position us to scale appropriately. We're also, unlike traditional software, I don't have a software background, but in today's age, you can leverage like AI and stuff to actually build your own software, which is really cool. It's not scalable, it's not enterprise ready, but it allows you to hand it over to a developer and to move quickly. And so that's really how we've built our platform. I've taken my ideas and concepts and these inefficiencies that I've experienced in the industry, and I've brought them to life through creating software and then commercializing it. And so, I think unlike a lot of tech companies that were founded, 5, 10 years ago, we have a strategic advantage because we don't have any debt. We don't have, a lot of overhead. We can actually run our business. We're actually can break even about $600,000 per year. And so, anything after that is, it's in your pocket, right? It's money in the bank. And so I think that this gives us a strategic advantage, not having the burden of debt or private equity investment. It also allows us to kind of direct our own business, right? Like we get to move and manage it however we'd like. And so, with that being said, we do have several leads in the oil and gas space that we are hopeful that we've in the last 2 years we went from first year we did 90,000 in sales. This year we do about 400,000 in sales, and we're hoping to double again next year and do about 800,000 in sales. I think the one challenge we have is, I'm more afraid of growing too quickly and not being able to support that growth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, the last thing I want to do is take an investment. And so managing our cash flow, being disciplined in what we spend money on is how we're running the business. But there might be a point like one thing we're targeting is private equity. So we offer, vendor management solutions to oil and gas and energy customers. And some of the traction we found is that these private equity firms that have portfolio companies that they invest in, a lot of these private equity firms, they want insight into third-party risk management. They want to have visibility into what risks their investments have, right? When it comes to how they're managing the people that service their companies. And so, there's a good chance that, we could sell a private equity firm who could then dictate like, hey, we want all 25 of our portfolio companies to leverage VenLink. And if that were to happen, we would need an investment to be able to scale that growth. So there's a lot of good things in our future. I think we'll at least double next year, but we could grow even beyond that.
You hit the nail on the head with something a lot of businesses face and struggle in that season of when you're growing. It's like how like calculating that expansion so it doesn't overexpand and then you're like, oh, we can't do this. And so I think that's a huge thing, especially as you're gearing up. Like that's awesome that you're kind of focused on that because yeah, that can be
Yeah,
a
we've actually had to tell companies no, like we can't service you yet, and that's because our software wasn't ready yet. I didn't want to go hire, at the end of the day, I'm providing vendor management, vendor onboarding, account management services to our customers, and just like you were to hire someone to build a building, like a general contractor, for instance, a general contractor, you know, they don't do a lot of the work. They'll go out and subcontract plumbing and they'll subcontract framing, right? It's always kind of boggled my mind, I guess, why, we do this with accounting, we do this, but we don't do this. A lot of organizations don't do this with vendor management, right? And vendor management is an administrative burden. It's a cost center within these organizations. Um, and so, we've built our technology in a way where we are at the end of the day providing a service, and
Mhm.
it's our job to figure out how to make that service efficient, right? We are the vendor and supply chain managers for our organization, and we're leveraging technology and AI to make our job more efficient at the end of the day, which then provides a better service to our customers.
Oh, definitely. Well, this has been such a great conversation, learning about your industry and how you're tackling your goals and things that are going on. Now I want to dive into our fun part of our conversation called our rapid fire Q&A. So I'll be asking you 4 questions and just answer very top of mind.
Okay, I'll do my
All
best.
all right. Question number 1 is what is the key to success for you?
Well, I think key to success comes in three forms. All right. So it's work hard, be smart, and be nice at the end of the day. Right. So I think that if you work hard, you're going to get smarter. And as long as you're nice, you're going to have the right opportunities fall in your lap.
Oh my gosh, kindness is the key to success. I agree. That's awesome. Okay, question number 2 is what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Um, I would say, people, uh, I think work-life balance is still key. I think back to prioritization. So I have a family, and my family always comes first, and I think you can always sacrifice your family or these other things in your life for your business, right? But I've found that if my priorities are right, that I feel that I've been blessed, like by keeping those priorities right.
Definitely. I love that. Number 3 is it could be a book, a podcast, an article, just a piece of content that's resonated with you recently.
Um, so I actually just read this book. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's about customer success, like being customer centric, right? And so it's definitely a book that I would recommend.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we really are in the business of people, like, and at the end of the day, it's so that's huge. And the fourth question is now take your time on this one. If I gave you a magic wand and you could rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
I would say time, right? So if I had unlimited amounts of time, I think it's probably a canned answer, but we only have so much time in the day, and I enjoy working my business, right? But I also enjoy being a dad. I enjoy playing baseball with my kids. I enjoy having dinner with my wife, and so if I had a magic wand, though, I would be able to, basically lock down time and like work in a bubble for endless hours and then come out of that bubble and still have time with my family and all the other things that I have to do.
Oh, that is a good one. Well, thank you for sharing that. And again, thank you for just sharing this great conversation with me. Now I'd love to connect you with our audience. So how can people connect with you and your business online?
Yeah, so you can look us up at www.venlink.com. You can reach out to our support team there, schedule a demo. You can also reach me at josh.owens at venlink.com. So you can email me there if you have any questions or are curious just more about our business.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for our final question of the day. What is most inspiring to you today?
So, what's most inspiring to me is my parents, actually. So, my parents have been on a mission trip for 2 years in Vanuatu. This will be the second Christmas that we'll miss of them, but they are, serving in a third world country, and I think they're, building schools and churches, and I think that it's been a huge commitment for them. In fact, I was hoping my parents would come home for Christmas this year, but they have about 6 more months, and I think their mission just kept getting extended and extended. But my dad's got to finish his project. That's something that I've learned from him is you got to finish what you start, and so they got about 6 months left to complete that. But it's inspiring to me because I think every successful business owner should give back at the end of the day, and that's what I've seen my parents do.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool. Well, Josh, this was such a fun conversation. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Kay. I appreciate you having me.